GPT-4 is here, and I have to say, it is pretty sick. OpenAI, the company behind GPT-4, released their technical report. Let's dive into the most important findings. Now, after updating the model, OpenAI wanted to see whether GPT-4 was better at understanding text input and then generating an output. And the way they did this was by seeing how well GPT-4 performed at doing exams which were designed for humans. This was actually a really good way of seeing how effective the natural language processing GPT-4 uses actually is. Because exam questions are often written in a very specific way, right? We all know how exam questions often preamble before actually getting to the crux. So they compared the exam performance of GPT-4 against 3.5, and the improvement is massive. So they used the latest set of exam questions. The exam questions did include multiple choice as well as free response questions. It is also worth calling out that GPT-4 didn't have any specific training for the exams, and it did the exams under exam conditions. Now here are the results. The left column here shows the different exam types, and the exam scores reported are based on how humans performed in these exams. So if we take the bar exam, which is an exam law students take, GPT-4 scored marks which put it amongst the top 10% of students. Now compare that with GPT 3.5, where it was in the bottom 10%. Look at how well GPT-4 performed in these set of exams. The fact that it performed so well in social science exams like psychology, which expect essay-style answers, shows how much GPT-4's natural language processing has improved. But a couple of things are worth challenging. If you look closely, right, you can see how they offer the ranges of percentiles, but there are big gaps, like here for example. And it means that GPT-4's exam results aren't actually as consistent. And also for the American Maths contest, the human percentiles aren't actually published for them to benchmark against. So take these rankings with a pinch of salt. Now what I thought was pretty interesting was LeetCode results. So LeetCode is a website used by programmers for brushing up on their coding skills, for just general improvement, but also for technical interviews. They'll be asked questions which often can be practiced on websites like LeetCode. And I actually did pretty poorly in the LeetCode medium and hard set of exam questions. So if you're a programmer watching and you're scared that you might lose your job to GPT-4, I actually wouldn't worry too much. Just show these results to your boss. But on the whole, I don't think you can deny that there is a significant improvement in GPT-4's natural language processing. OpenAI's focus on improving their pre-training is one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing improvements like this. Pre-training in layman's terms is where OpenAI gets huge amounts of data in the form of text, and without any direct supervision, GPT-4 learns how to generate the right words in response to a given question. OpenAI haven't divulged exactly why it's improved so much, but increasing the number of parameters must have played a big part. Some reports have claimed that GPT-4 uses 1 trillion parameters, but I've done some research and that's wrong. At the time of recording, we don't actually know the exact number, but what we can say is well into the billions. And the reason as to why more parameters actually would improve the model is because more parameters mean that more patterns of data can actually be captured. If you're able to capture more patterns, it means it's more learning. And if you have more learning, it means you're able to generate better responses. And it also wouldn't be surprised if they updated their positional encodings and multi-head attention. Optimizing the positional encodings is just a fancy way of saying that GPT-4 is better at understanding words in a given sequence. And multi-head attention is just where it can focus on multiple parts of the sentence at the exact same time. And if both of these are optimized, it means you actually as a user have more tailored responses coming back to you from GPT-4. GPT-4 is also showing it's pretty accurate when it comes to generating responses in different languages. And this graph shows its accuracy in generating coherent responses to the same questions but in different languages and without any additional training. Now let's talk about the big update, image input. What I absolutely love is how it can detect humor depicted in pictures. I mean, check this out. This is just mind-blowing. Whilst this is something OpenAI claims it can do, they're not actually offering this to users right now at the time of recording. What I think is going a bit under the radar is how transparent OpenAI are actually being. And the reason as to why I say that is because they are being pretty open about the flaws in GPT-4. GPT-4 can still get basic answers wrong, and they call this hallucinations. I mean, check this out. This is actually good to see because I think as users, it's very easy for us to have an over-reliance on GPT and assume everything it says is always correct. So the green in the graph is GPT-4, and you can see across different categories, GPT-4's ability to produce accurate responses is improving. But GPT can be used to provide harmful responses to questions. It's previously given racist responses to questions, as well as offering guidance on how someone could hurt themselves. These kind of dangers are obvious issues, and the good news is that OpenAI is focused on addressing these. And what's good to see here is that the launched version of GPT-4 is not even entertaining the question. And the way they're doing this is by what's called model refusal. This is getting GPT to just outright refuse to answer any specific sort of questions. What I actually think is pretty clever is how OpenAI are using something called a dual use capability. I mean, let's take cybersecurity as an example. So if a user asks GPT how to hack, say for example, a government entity, you don't want GPT to start giving accurate responses. But at the same time, it'd be really useful as a programmer to see if you insert your piece of code, whether there are security vulnerabilities that could be exploited. So that is pretty clever. As I was reading this report, one thing did get me slightly concerned, and that was the issue of bias. OpenAI have reached out to industry professionals to help tackle the issues that we went through. But the worry I have is that even if external stakeholders are involved, what if they hold political biases? And for example, if they're all English speaking from the Western world, is there a risk that pro-Western bias, for example, could leak in? And even with the improvements to GPT-4 from its earlier version, there are still some big issues and bias. I mean, just take a look at this. Here a user's asking GPT-4 to write a program to calculate the attractiveness of gender and race. And the fact that the launch version of GPT-4 generates this kind of response is crazy. And I think at every stage of the process where humans are involved, from data cleansing to testing the output of GPT-4, I think having a competent set of people with a diverse set of beliefs will help tackle the issue of bias. So I know there's been some controversy regarding GPT-4 recently. Elon Musk is clearly concerned about the threat of AI, and him alongside other industry professionals are requesting for the pause of advancements such as what OpenAI are working on. After reading this paper, I do genuinely believe that the OpenAI team are very transparent about the dangers of AI. But more importantly, they're actually showing progress against tackling these dangers. These are new issues that the world is facing for the first time, so we have to be cognizant of that as well. And let's not lose sight of why you're probably watching this video. You're actually excited about the technology like me. The technology is actually sick. I for one can't wait for this to be widely rolled out for everyone to get their hands on. The future is going to be incredibly exciting. Thanks for watching, you absolute legend.